So I was at a friend's place the other night, and honestly, she was just super excited, showing me her absolute favorite thing.
Oh, yeah. What was it?
It was this tiny little figurine, you know, kind of elf-like, big ears, and this grin with exactly 9 teeth. A real Labubu.
Ah, Labubu, right. But they're huge right now.
Totally. She apparently spent a lot of money getting it on the resale market. She was telling me the whole story. You know, the blind boxes, the crazy hunt for the limited ones.
Yeah, the hype is real.
It really is.
Yeah.
She said it's not even weird anymore to see them hanging off like a $20,000 handbag.
Wow.
Yeah. For her, it wasn't just like plastic. It was a status thing, a little piece of art, you know, part of this whole exclusive scene.
I get that. Collectibles often take on that kind of meaning.
But then she gets this look in her eye like she's got a secret and pulls out another one from a drawer.
Okay.
And this one, well, it's just different. Totally different.
Right.
It was shoved into this cheap, shiny box. Nothing like the fancy matte ones, the real ones come in. Yeah. Its ears were bent funny, like at a really weird angle. Its eyes were this super bright, almost kind of startling pink.
Pink eyes. Okay.
And when I look closer, I swear, it had way more than 9 teeth. Like a lot more.
Uh-huh. Really?
Yeah. My first thought was just, oh, okay, it's one of those sad, cheap knockoffs you find like at a gas station.
Right, a bad fake.
But she holds it up, smiling like crazy, and says, oh, that's my Lafufu. Isn't it wonderfully awful?
Wonderfully awful. I like that. Lafufu.
Lafufu. And that's when it got really strange. She starts telling me that she and like thousands of other people online are now hunting for these really bad fakes.
Hunting for them, not trying to avoid them.
No, the opposite. They weren't trying to pretend they were real. Yeah. They were loving how obviously fake they were, celebrating the flaws.
So the worse the copy.
The worse the copy, the wonkier the smile, the louder the colors, the more they wanted it. She was showing me TikToks with millions of views.
Millions for fake toys.
Yeah. Someone unboxing a bald Lafufu, like it had no hair, just totally delighted. Another one where the eye was kind of melted. They called it a unique gem.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's unexpected.
Right.
Yeah.
And get this. Someone offered her $200 for her pink-eyed one, the wonderfully awful one.
$200 for the fake.
Yep. She turned it down flat. Said it was priceless to her.
Priceless. Okay.
So that total reversal, you know, where the messed up copy becomes just as wanted, maybe even more wanted than the perfect original, that just made me think, okay, there's something way deeper and weirder going on here than just, you know, a toy fad.
You've definitely hit on something really fascinating there. It's this this inversion of value. It really challenges how we normally think about authenticity, about what makes something desirable, what your friend's doing and what these online groups are doing. It's a pretty potent cultural thing happening. So our deep dive today is all about unpacking that exact reversal. How does a flawed copy end up being just as sought after as the perfect original? And by looking at that, we can explore these deeper psychological currents, the cultural shifts behind it all. It's really more than just a toy, isn't it? It's like a mirror showing us how we see value, identity, maybe even a bit of rebellion today.
Okay, let's definitely unpack this because, I mean, from the outside, it just looks like people are getting really excited about, well, junk. What is actually going on? Yeah. What's the draw to these kinds of collectibles to begin with, even the real ones?
Well, the pull of both the authentic Labubu and these Lafufus taps into some really basic psychological stuff. It's super clear with things like blind boxes and these collectible toys that are everywhere now.
Right.
You've basically got 3 strong things working together. First, the price, at least initially. Second, the human instinct to collect things. And third, the huge psychological kick you get from surprise.
Okay, break that down. The price.
Yeah, think about it. A single blind box. Often pretty cheap to start. You mentioned Australia, right?
Right.
Similar things there, like those Ushis, could be anywhere from, maybe $1.60 up to $15.
Yeah, something like that. Accessible.
Exactly. That low entry price makes it an easy impulse buy. It feels low risk. You think, oh, it's only a few dollars. Why not? But that's just the hook, right? The real genius and where the cost adds up comes next.
So it's not really about the toy itself then. It's more about the gamble. The mystery of what you're going to get inside. That's the real pull.
That's a huge part of it. The low price gets you in the door, but it's not the whole game. The business model is all about pushing you to collect them all.
Ah, the classic line.
It works. Think about that company, Head Start International, the Ushis people. For just their Marvel Ushis, they put out something like 164 different toys across 4 series.
Whoa, 164? That's a lot.
It is. So buying one bag is cheap, yeah. But trying to actually complete the set, the cost skyrockets. And this strategy connects directly to that really deep human drive, the urge to collect.
We do like to collect stuff, don't we?
Oh, absolutely. It's incredibly ingrained. Some studies suggest over 90% of kids collect something. Rocks, stamps, cards, these little figures, whatever.
90%? Wow.
Yeah. And it's not just kids. Estimates say around 30% of adults collect something too. It hits on our natural curiosity, our desire to create order. It's even a basic way we try to understand the world.
How so?
Well, we gather things, we sort them, we categorize them. And by doing that, we're kind of imposing meaning and structure onto things. It helps make sense of a big, messy world, one little collected piece at a time.
Huh. Never thought of it quite like that. It feels like our brains are just wired to chase that feeling, that little win of finding something cool or surprising. But these companies, they're not just tapping into that natural feeling, are they? It feels like they're, I don't know, amplifying it somehow, leveraging something bigger. It's kind of wild how a tiny plastic toy can plug into something so primal.
Totally. The blind bag model definitely weaponizes that collecting instinct. It cleverly mixes the pleasure of getting a reward with the excitement of not knowing what reward you'll get. That specific mix isn't just appealing, it can be deeply addictive.
Addictive? How?
It uses the exact same psychological mechanics that can lead to gambling problems. It's called intermittent reinforcement, or sometimes variable ratio reinforcement.
Intermittent reinforcement. Okay.
Think back to B.F. Skinner, the psychologist. He did these famous experiments with pigeons back in the 50s.
Right. Skinner's box.
Exactly. So his team trained pigeons to peck a lever to get food. What they found was really interesting. When the pigeons got food every single time they pecked, they basically only pecked when they were hungry. Made sense, right? Rational behavior.
Okay.
But when the food rewards came intermittently, meaning the pigeons had no idea when the next peck would pay off, they became compulsive peckers. They just kept pecking and pecking way more than hunger would explain.
Driven by the hope.
Driven by the hope of the next reward. And this isn't just pigeons. They've shown this works with kids in tests, and obviously it works with adults too.
So how does that connect to the blind box?
Well, our brain's reward system runs on dopamine, right?
Yeah.
That anticipation, the uncertainty of what's inside the box, triggers a dopamine release.
The chemical reward.
Precisely. When you open that box, the unknown outcome gives you a little rush. That excitement, that, oh, what if I get the rare one feeling? Even if you don't get what you wanted, that process creates a positive feedback loop in your brain.
So you want to do it again?
Exactly. That dopamine hit keeps you engaged, encourages you to buy another one. It's why you find yourself thinking, okay, just one more. Always chasing that perfect find, or maybe just chasing the thrill of opening it. It's a very effective and very profitable model for toy companies.
So are you saying that whether it's a little plastic toy or like a giant slot machine in Vegas, the basic brain chemistry, that dopamine hit, is kind of being triggered in the same way? That's wild.
Functionally, yes. The core mechanism is very, very similar. Blind boxes are definitely part of what you could call gamified marketing.
Gamified marketing?
Yeah, the act of earning points or getting badges, or in this case, just opening a mystery item, it triggers that dopamine release. The reward system reinforces the behavior, subtly nudges you to come back, engage with the brand, or, keep buying those boxes. It's a really strong driver of how we behave as consumers.
Right.
And you see an even bigger, more money-making version of this, though it's virtual, with loot boxes in video games.
Oh yeah, loot boxes are everywhere.
Players spend real money on them, hoping to get cool cosmetic items for their characters' skins, they call them, or maybe powerful weapons or gear.
And the odds are usually terrible.
Right. Often very low for the really desirable stuff. But just like blind boxes, it's the hope of getting that rare drop that keeps players spending. That market generates something like $30 billion a year for the game industry.
30 billion.
The parallels are definitely there. It just shows how powerful that intermittent reward principle is across totally different markets.
It's definitely a powerful force shaping what we buy. Okay, but now let's switch gears to the really weird part of this story. The Labubu. We get the appeal of the real Labubu, the psychology behind collecting. But the Labubu, that's the real twist. How does something deliberately bad become cool? What makes a Labubu different from just any old terrible knockoff? Well, when you hold a real Labubu, you feel the quality right. There's these clear signs. The 9-tooth grin, the face is kind of peachy and matte, not shiny, and it comes in that nice matte box with an official QR code you can scan.
Right, signs of authenticity.
Yeah, and some even have this tiny UV watermark on the foot. Very high-tech for a toy. But the Labubu, its charm is all in how badly it fails.
Uh-huh. Okay.
My friend's one, remember? Those bent ears, the super bright pink eyes that almost glowed, and definitely more than 9 teeth. They come in flimsy, shiny boxes that look cheap. Often the printing is smudged.
Total contrast.
Totally. And the appeal, like the collectors say, is exactly how bad the copy is. The worse it looks, the more messed up the smile, the weirder the colors, the more they want it. It's like they're completely flipping the usual expectations on their head. It's kind of delightful in a weird way.
And this isn't just your friend or a few people with a strange sense of humor. So you mentioned online communities.
Yeah, the whole subculture growing online. Reddit communities are blowing up with people sharing tips like, where can I find the best Lafufus? Apparently, Shane and Alibaba are popular spots.
Interesting. So they're actively sourcing them from these platforms known for, well, variable quality.
Exactly. And TikTok is full of unboxing videos. People proudly showing off these flawed figures, just celebrating how imperfect they are. Like that bald Labubu video you mentioned, almost 3 million views. That shows it has pretty broad appeal, this weird aesthetic.
It's critical then that these Lafufus aren't meant to fool anyone. They're not trying to pass as real.
Not at all.
Their value comes specifically from being wonderfully awful, from being obviously fake. Someone described it perfectly. The impression is how bad the imitation is, how weird they look because they fail so spectacularly at being real. That makes them unique.
Right.
And that's a really interesting psychological shift. The very flaws that would normally make a counterfeit worthless become the exact source of its unique appeal, creating this whole new, like, upside down kind of value.
It really is mind-bending. We're not just talking about fake stuff anymore, but like a whole new way of looking at value, at authenticity. It feels like the normal rules, perfection is good, flaws are bad, have just been thrown out the window. What does this really tell us about what we want and why we want it?
It tells us we're seeing a really powerful change in how value gets decided and assigned. Your friend refusing $200 for her pink-eyed Labubu because it was priceless to her. That sums it up perfectly.
Yeah?
It points to a much deeper emotional connection, a kind of value that goes way beyond money or perfect quality.
So it's emotional.
Very much so. This desire for Lafufus and even the broader appeal of art toys, like the real Labubu, connects deeply to really basic human needs. Things like emotional comfort and self-expression.
How does a toy provide that?
Well, these figures aren't just plastic. They act as symbols. They get filled with emotional meaning. They can even reflect lifestyles the owners aspire to or identify with.
Okay.
For a lot of people, a toy like Labubu with that cheeky grin and the sharp teeth, it might strike a chord personally. Maybe it reflects their own hidden worries, or maybe they see themselves in it, you know, seeming a bit tough or intimidating on the outside, but actually pretty easygoing once you get to know them.
Interesting.
People find real comfort, like de-stressing, just by having these figures around. A little quiet buddy nearby while they're watching TV or playing games. It sounds small, but it can be a powerful bit of comfort in everyday life.
Yeah, I can see that.
And this feeling, this connection, it goes beyond age groups. Someone put it really well, like Mickey Mouse, Labubu's quirky appeal works for anyone. It kind of gives permission, reinforces the idea that you're never too old or too young to try something new or to just enjoy something whimsical.
That's a nice way to think about it.
And this isn't just anecdotal. There was social science research back in 2025. The Chinese Academy of Social Sciences surveyed over 10,000 people aged 18 to 70.
Okay.
They found really significant numbers. About a quarter, 25.42%, said they looked for emotional comfort in cultural activities and things they bought. Another chunk, 28.51%, were seeking self-expression. And for people under 30, those numbers were even higher, over 30%.
Wow. So it's a major driver for a lot of people.
Absolutely. It shows it's not just about getting a toy. It's really about building personal connections, expressing who you are, and finding that sense of belonging and recognition in a community. These are all super important parts of building your identity, both as an individual and as part of a group.
And this whole idea where the flawed copy gets popular, it seems like it's bigger than just toys, right?
Yeah.
We're seeing this in what people are calling counterfeit culture, too, where fakes aren't just accepted, but sometimes even celebrated, like the whole dupe thing.
Exactly. The dupe phenomenon. It's actually with luxury goods.
Right. Buying and showing off fake luxury stuff or dupes has become way more normal, almost destigmatized. particularly with Gen Z and millennials.
Yeah, it's often positioned as being savvy or smart shopping.
Like you're cleverly getting the look without the crazy price tag. There was a 2024 EU study that found, get this, 54% of people thought it was okay to buy fakes because basically everyone does it.
54%, that's huge. It shows a real shift away from feeling guilty or ashamed about it.
Definitely. And another survey by Business of Fashion found 54% of U.S. Gen Z thought it was morally okay for other people to buy or use fake luxury goods. The reasoning was interesting. It suggested that the desire for desirability and enhanced individualism lets Gen Z kind of lower those traditional moral objections.
So the desire for the look, for expressing individuality, outweighs the concern about authenticity.
Seems like it. And you see influencers all over social media showing off their fake designer bags or shoes, treating them like something to brag about.
Making the fake itself a status item.
Yeah. And part of this is definitely fueled by how insanely expensive real luxury stuff has gotten. Like a Chanel bag costing $4,900 a few years ago is now over $10,800.
That price inflation is definitely a factor.
And some research even hints that people buy fakes to get a feeling of social equality, like they're mimicking the elite to feel part of that world, but without the huge cost.
So it allows access, or the feeling of access, to a higher social level.
Right. So what's really fascinating here is it's clearly not just about being able to afford it anymore. It's become a cultural statement, like an anti-status symbol that somehow becomes its own kind of status symbol. It's deliberately pushing back against traditional luxury, saying, yeah, I get the real thing, I see the value, but I'm defining status my own way. That's a huge shift in how we think about value, isn't it?
It absolutely is. And that cultural statement, like search for identity through what you buy and how you use it, ties right into how young adults figure themselves out, especially people in that emerging adulthood phase, say 18 to late 20s.
How does leisure play into that?
Leisure time gives them a unique space. It's freedom, right? Yeah. Freedom to guide their own experiences without the usual pressures from work or school or family obligations. It becomes this perfect environment for exploring who you are and eventually settling into a more solid sense of self.
So they're actively experimenting.
Very actively. They try new things, figure out what clicks with them, and then consciously decide, okay, this is part of me, or nope, not for me. It's not passive at all. It's very much driven by their own choices. Sometimes that even means choosing not to try something new, which also shows they're in control of shaping their identity.
Makes sense.
And the things they experience in their free time, whether it's collecting weird toys, joining online groups, taking up a hobby, can lead to some deep self-reflection. And eventually, commitments to certain parts of their identity.
Okay.
There was this interesting case study of an Austrian guy. He knew his gambling was tied to what he saw as a bad part of his identity, but he kept doing it anyway.
Huh, why?
It just shows how complicated identity is. It's not always neat and tidy. Our actions, even ones we might judge negatively, can get tangled up in how we see ourselves. So, bringing it back to our topic, the search for personal meaning, this active building of identity through leisure. It's a powerful, often subconscious force driving the appeal of things like Labubu and even the surprising rise of the Lafufu.
Right. It gives context to why these things can feel so important personally.
Exactly. But while it's fun to explore the quirky cultural side of Lafufus and this shift in value, we absolutely have to talk about the bigger picture. The global counterfeit market has some really serious, often very negative consequences.
Yeah, it's not all fun and games with wonky toys.
Not at all. The scale is just enormous. Back in 2019, the estimated global economic value of counterfeit goods was around $1.9 trillion.
Trillion? That's massive.
It's a huge illicit trade, and it really hurts legitimate businesses. We're talking lost sales, damage to brand reputation, loss of consumer trust.
And jobs, presumably.
And definitely displacement of legitimate jobs. Luxury brands, because their stuff is so desirable and expensive, are hit particularly hard. Estimates suggest they might account for 60–70% of the total counterfeit trade.
Wow.
Plus, governments lose out on massive amounts of tax revenue that should be funding public services. So guess who ends up footing the bill? Law-abiding taxpayers.
Right. That makes sense.
And beyond the money, there are serious health and safety risks. This is where it gets really far from the harmless Lafufu idea. Counterfeit products can be incredibly dangerous or just completely ineffective.
Like fake medicines.
Exactly. The impact is even worse in developing countries where the rules and enforcement might be weaker. The World Health Organization reported in 2020 that about 1 in 10 medical products in low and middle income countries is either substandard or fake. That leads to real harm, preventable deaths.
That's terrifying.
It is. And the COVID-19 pandemic really put a spotlight on it. Suddenly, the market was flooded with fake PPE, fake vaccines, fake testing kits. It showed just how vulnerable our global healthcare supply chains are and put so many people at risk.
And where did most of these fakes actually come from? Is there data on that?
There is. According to the OECD back in 2019, a really big chunk of the international trade in fakes, valued at something like $464 billion that year, originated in China. And while you still find fakes sold by street vendors or in physical shops, online platforms are becoming a much bigger source for buying them. Surveys show people know it's a global thing and that these goods are often just a few clicks away online, crossing borders easily.
So the internet makes it easier to distribute them widely.
Definitely. Now, if we circle back to the blind box market itself, especially in China where it's grown incredibly fast, it hasn't been without problems or public concern. There have been issues raised about, well, a lack of strong oversight.
Like what kind of issues?
Well, Pop Mart, for example, they're a huge player, really pioneers in China's trendy toy scene, but they've faced a lot of consumer complaints.
Really?
Yeah. On one platform, the China Consumer Protection Platform, there were over 1,400 complaints logged against them, mostly about things like orders not arriving, making it hard to return faulty goods, quality issues with no real after-sales help.
And were those resolved?
Worryingly, 1,365 of those were listed as unresolved. On another big complaint platform, Black Cat Complaint, Pop Mart apparently had over 7,000 complaints by early 2022. Now, these are documented issues, and they often reflect the challenges that come with any market that grows super fast.
Okay, some delivery and quality control issues. Anything else?
There were also some really serious public concerns, like that awful pet blind box trend that popped up.
Pet blind boxes? What on earth is that?
Online stores were selling rare pets really cheaply in blind boxes, but often people would receive sick or disabled animals. Many didn't even survive shipping, or they got abandoned later because buyers couldn't be sure they'd get the specific animal they wanted. It caused a huge public outcry, obviously, about the lack of respect for animal welfare.
That's horrific.
It really is. And the fast growth also raises questions about kids buying these blind boxes, especially online or from vending machines where it's hard to control sales like you would with alcohol or cigarettes.
Right, the gambling aspect again.
Exactly. There's a push for regulators to draw a clearer line between blind boxes and actual gambling, similar to the debate happening globally around loot boxes in video games.
So what's being suggested to fix these problems in the industry?
Well, ideas include things like setting up better ways to monitor product quality and the materials used, making sure the price actually reflects the value, maybe bringing in independent third-party checks or creating clearer legal rules about the odds of drawing rare items to close any loopholes.
Seems sensible. Needs better regulation.
Right. And connecting this to the bigger picture, these kinds of documented issues really highlight the challenges that come with explosive market growth. They just underline the continuous need for strong regulations and ethical business practices, whether we're talking traditional shops or these new fast-moving digital markets. It's all about finding that balance,
Right.
Protecting consumers while still allowing for fair and open trade, making sure the fun of collecting doesn't have hidden costs.
All of this, though, whether it's the perfect pricey Labubu or the wonderfully wonky Lafufu, it really does feel like it holds up a mirror to us, doesn't it? To our own psychology, how we navigate the world in ways we might not even realize. It says so much about how we connect, what we value, and how easily those values can change.
Absolutely.
And it's pretty clear that people often jump on trends or adopt ideas, not just because they make perfect sense on their own, but because, well, they're trending.
Right, the social influence.
Yeah. It's that natural human thing to copy influencers, to want to belong to the group that's doing the cool thing. So many beliefs really are just kind of downloaded from others, reinforced by what's popular, what everyone's talking about, and we often don't stop to question them deeply.
That groupthink effect is powerful.
It really is. You see it everywhere, fashion, politics, and even down to collecting little plastic toys.
And this whole dynamic creates this interesting tension in society, doesn't it? You've got this push and pull. On one side, you have people who just dive headfirst into their passions.
The all-in crowd.
Exactly. They collect, they share online, they celebrate what they love, they find real self-expression and emotional comfort in those communities. For some people, especially if they've been through tough times, these small things aren't silly distractions at all. They genuinely feel like lifelines.
Lifelines, that's a strong word.
It reflects how important that joy and connection can be. They find freedom and real happiness in doing what they love, no matter how niche or unconventional it might seem to others. It's just an authentic embrace of joy.
Okay. And the other side?
Well, on the other side, there's often this huge societal pressure to seem mature, serious, above all that silly stuff.
The too cool for school attitude.
Right. That mentality can make loving a plushie or a quirky figurine feel childish or embarrassing, maybe even like a sign you haven't grown up properly.
Yeah, I can see that pressure.
And it's easy to internalize that, to push down simple joys because you're trying to fit into this more conventional adult idea of what's cool or acceptable.
So it's one extreme or the other.
Not necessarily. There's definitely a healthy middle ground. It's totally possible and probably good for you to balance that very real human need for joy and connection with maintaining a professional image or whatever else is expected. It doesn't automatically mean overconsumption if you're buying things with intention, if they have real personal meaning for you.
Finding that balance.
Yeah. And ultimately, maybe the best kind of cool is the kind that just lets you be exactly who you are with all your contradictions. You can embrace the sophisticated parts of yourself and the wonderfully weird parts too.
I like that, embracing the contradictions.
Yeah.
Well, this deep dive has definitely taken us on a pretty weird and wonderful trip, hasn't it? From the crazy hunt for a super rare, expensive Labubu, a luxury item, all the way to the equally passionate search for the perfectly imperfect Lafufu, where flaws are the whole point.
It's quite the spectrum.
It really is. A strange world of collectibles where value just gets turned completely upside down based on like a crooked smile or weird pink eyes.
And this whole quirky toy craze with its flipped values and these really passionate online groups, it gives us such a fascinating way to look at human behavior.
Yeah.
It shows us so much about how we form our identities, how incredibly fluid value can be in today's world, and how just having a personal connection or a shared experience with others can totally transform how we see things in ways we'd never expect. It's really quite revealing.
It really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? About how these new kinds of value just keep popping up, quietly reshaping our culture in the most surprising places, often where you'd least expect to find them.